Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang the bombs bursting in gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard. Solo again, running the show by myself. Steve's supposed to call in here shortly. We'll see what his day was like yesterday with Mount Rushmore and how far he got. And yeah, later today he should be in Montana, and then drop Zeta off and then head back whatever direction he goes. Trying to think what I did yesterday. I should know these things, right? But I worked on the house a little bit, got some more plywood done, a little bit of that, went into the garden a little bit, and it's getting there. The rain didn't do as much as I thought it would. Usually it really expands things out, and you can really see the difference one day makes. Things just literally explode. It's pretty crazy. But we got some cucumbers yesterday, a few tomatoes, so we're getting there. Trimmed back the tomato bushes because I got some things dying and stuff, and Steve's really good at that. He knows what to cut and everything. I just kind of went in and cut the old stuff out that it was like either dying or it didn't look great. And but yeah, things are looking pretty good. My corn's the stalks are up and it's good height, looks good, but no corn quite yet. But it's got those tassel, which I'm sure there's some sort of like actual name for this that I don't know. But that's coming out, so that's the first thing. And then they'll start to really pollinate, and then I can start to get corn. So, and Steve's garden, I think Nikki said she was going to go out there yesterday and harvest some stuff, because I'm sure he's got a lot of things coming up, because his garden is, like, my garden's nice, but his is huge. He's got two rows or 3 rows of tomatoes that are like 40 feet long. So once he starts, he's going to have an insane amount of tomatoes out there. Plus he's got he's got a lot of stuff out there. So we tried this thing last night. Actually, let me check the name of it real quick so I don't say it wrong. Steve grew it in his garden, and let's see, kohlrabi. So it's like a combination of a turnip and a cabbage, I guess. So I don't know. Steve grew it. It's kind of weird looking. So I took it and I looked up, like, what do you do with this thing? So I peeled off the outer skin and I cut it up almost like French fries in a way. And then I tossed it in some vegetable oil, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't a French fry by no means, but it wasn't bad. It was interesting. I don't know where he comes up with these things. He came out with a squash the other day that it was that thin, like it was probably 3 inches maybe. And it almost looked like a Frisbee, but it had like little, I don't know, it was not like a star, but so it was this weird looking squash that he grew, because he likes to do the weird stuff too. He'll find a packet of seeds that's not something you normally see, and he's like, hey, let's try this. And so I don't know if Nikki cooked that yet or whatever, but it was interesting. It may be extremely good. It's it's weird. It's so small, even though it's decent size like that probably in diameter, but it was thin. Probably say 3 inches, and there's some sort of squash. It was yellow. Um, Let's try to ask him when he gets on here and be like, hey, what was that squash you picked the other? But here's the thing, too. He might not know because he plants all these things. And then he says to me, man, I wish I had labeled that better because I'm not sure what that was. So, yeah, good times. Yeah, other than that, I think that was about the extent of my day yesterday. Today, not sure. After the show, of course, it's beautiful out today. It's supposed to be up about 85. Oh, there it
Steve
is.
Morris.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. We're 2 hours behind now, so it's only 8 o'clock here.
Ah.
So we haven't got on the road yet. We're leaving at 8:30 our time to go visit the Crazy Horse Memorial.
Nice.
And then from there, we head out to Bozeman.
Nice. How was Mount Rushmore?
It was amazing. I was very surprised, and I almost don't even want to say it on a public forum, but it was very pro-America. I'm surprised with the amount of just the way that the country appears to be going, just how positive and loyal to the founding fathers the presentation was, because we saw the night show where they light it up, and
Nice.
the park ranger. I think she's a park ranger, but I mean she was dressed like one, but I think her rank was major. The speech that she gave about her grandparents coming over and assimilating to be Americans and giving up their Italian and British, ancestry, or however you want to call it, like their loyalties. Her grandmother snapped at her whenever she told the story of how when she was in college taking an Italian class, because one of her two of her grandparents were from Italy that immigrated through Ellis Island. She'd ask, why didn't you ever speak Italian and teach us all Italian? And she said she whipped around and said, we're American. Anyway, it just kind of stood out to me, that story, and I was surprised that, she was allowed to say that in this day and age, but it really, I don't know, it was real. It's an awesome experience, and I recommend if anybody ever has the opportunity, if they're out this way, to stop by and watch the program, or at least, I would watch the program. I mean, seeing it's one thing, but seeing the presentation was pretty cool, pretty amazing.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, that's one of those things on the list of things that you want to do is like for me is I want to go to see Mount Rushmore, go to the parks, go to the Grand Canyon, do Route 66. Like those are the kind of like nostalgic American kind of things to do, right? And it must be just. It's got to be just a kind of somber moment or something. Just to stand there and look at that, because you see pictures and we've put it on the show before as a background, but to actually see it is pretty cool. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and they do a film too to highlight each of the presidents, and that, you know what I'm saying? Like what they put in that film, I guarantee you some of that's the first time Zeta's heard it. And she took AP history, you know what I mean? She was in honors throughout her schooling, and there's some of that stuff I know is not necessarily on purpose, but it's been taken out of the curriculum.
Right.
Over the years. Not, I'm not talking Newport specific or anything, or as a school board member. I'm just talking, we moved around a lot, you know what I mean? And so it was just awe-inspiring. There's no other way to put it. Just if anybody can, if they find their way out here, if they take a road trip vacation across, 90, Route 90, stop by and see it. And, I'm really excited to go to the Crazy Horse Memorial.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool too. And have you seen a lot of motorcycles? I think this is the last weekend of Sturgis Bike Week out there, because I think it started last weekend if I remember right, or it might even go for 2 weeks because it's a big bike week. But have you seen a bunch of bikes or no?
I wouldn't say a bunch of bikes, but I paid attention when I was on the road, just because it's 80 miles per hour going down through South Dakota, and there were a few motorcycles and there was like loose gravel on the sides because they were doing some work, and I felt bad passing them because I was like, man, I hope I don't spit any rocks. It wasn't off the shoulder or anything, but when they do that, somebody else could put some rocks on there, and
Right.
I was concerned about it, so I tried to pass with care just because they're a little unprotected.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy though. The actual regular speed limit is 80 miles per hour. So yeah, it must just be a lot of wide open, long stretches of highway. Now, is it just long stretches of straight highway, or is there, is it kind of like up here where there's exits every couple, 10 miles or something, or?
Yeah, in South Dakota, the exits are probably a little bit further apart, but they're a little bit easier to navigate. So Ohio is horrible because you got to get off the turnpike and you go through the easy toll pass, and then you got to go get onto a road because both east and west go through the same toll plaza in Ohio. So it's not like you just exit, and go to a gas station or restaurant. You got to pay a toll, loop back around, find your way to the main drag, and then to come back on, you got to backtrack basically to go through the same toll plaza. So Ohio has been the most inconvenient. New York, they have like the little service stations on the side, so you don't necessarily have to get off, and their exits are far and few between in New York. But not Ohio, South Dakota's been pretty good.
Nice. You'll have to have Zeta text me some pictures that you guys took yesterday, and we'll have to put those definitely up at the end of the show. And
yeah, it was 10 o'clock our time by the time we got back to the room after the show last night. I mean, and we're right at the base of it, but we stopped and walked. There's some little shops, but because it's closer to school season, they close a little bit earlier, so we got us a little calzone at 9:45. But anyway, so I'll have her send some pictures of it when we're driving out the Crazy Horse.
Nice. Yeah, so that sounds cool. Hey, what was that? So I was telling our listeners about the garden a little bit and stuff. And so what was that squash you picked the other day? It was yellow and it was pretty flat, though. It was, I don't know.
They call it a patty pan.
Patty pan. Yeah, I was trying to think. I couldn't remember what you said that thing was. And because I was talking about the kohlrabi that we had tried last night. And then you grew.
Did it have a little spice to it, or did it just taste like cabbage?
No, it was very much like a cross between cabbage and maybe a turnip, kind of as they described it on.
Okay.
But so I just I cut it up like French fries, basically, like a
Yeah, I thought you had sent me some of your potatoes cut up into fries. I was like, oh, nice, you got some potatoes. You're like, that's your kohlrabi.
Yeah, no. So I cut it up like that, and then I just looked up. There's a bunch of recipes on there, and I'm sure I could have. One of them was like a Parmesan cheese and stuff put on. I'm sure that would have made it like over the top, but I just used salt, pepper, olive oil, and some garlic powder, and just tossed it in that and cooked it for like 24 minutes or something like that. And yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, I don't. It's not something I'd probably be like, yeah, the next year I want to grow like 20 of these things or something. But it was something that was different, and I think if you had other things to go with, I think it would have been pretty good. Or I'm also wondering if you like shaved it, or shredded it, kind of like what you do cabbage, like a coleslaw. I wonder if you mix it or something, what it'd be like. But it was interesting. Yeah, it wasn't like it was like horribly tasting or anything. It wasn't bad. I'd eat it again. If you made it or something, I'd be like, yeah, I'd eat it. Where sometimes I just try something and be like, no, I'm good. So it wasn't like it was bad. It was different though. It was pretty cool. Something different, Still there, Steve? Or did we lose Steve? Hello? Hello? Technology's so wonderful, isn't it? All right, we'll have him call back. But, yeah, so that was a squash. Interesting. Yeah, it's called kohlrabi. Kohlrabi, it's called.
Steve.
I lost you there.
Yeah, I could hear you, but then all of a sudden my phone.
I was like, Steve, where'd you go?
Yeah, I was trying to say that I got those from Runnings when they were like 50% off.
Okay, yeah.
When they were like just trying to get rid of everything because it was kind of the end of the season. So I didn't even know. I mean, they were a little bitty they grew very well. You know, if it's not, because I've read, you know, I've watched a lot of videos, read a lot of stuff, and some of them say, you know, cabbage isn't really worth growing because of the amount of, you know, hassle it can be. But I mean, I picked those up for like $1,
Oh,
like a
those
four
grew.
pack or something.
Yeah, those things grew great for you. You know, like I've got Brussels sprouts, and they still haven't really started to do that. I mean, the plant looks big and stuff, but and my eggplant finally yesterday, Andrea said, "Hey, you got flowers on the eggplant." So I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So now that'll start to grow eggplant. But yeah, that's
Yeah, the eggplant flowers are beautiful in themselves, man. It's worth just going out there and marveling at the nature's beauty if you haven't looked at them yet.
yeah. I hadn't looked at
I
them. I
mean, it's
finished
not
the
very manly
purple.
to say, but like those purple flowers are just, I don't know, just awesome
Yeah, it's pretty
to know
cool.
that that's going to produce an awesome fruit that you're going to be able, or vegetable that you'll be able to fry up.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Actually, we bake them. I think Nikki bakes ours, but you get my point.
Yeah, no, I love eggplant. Like eggplant parmesan is amazing. If you haven't tried it, you have to try it because it is awesome. I love
Yeah,
it.
you tried some of Nikki's last
I
year,
did,
right?
and she did
Oh
also.
my God.
Like, yeah, like
I
I've
was
gone.
so mad that she shared that. I'm just kidding.
I know it was so good because that's how I've had it in the past. You know, you know, you can get it like at a pizza place or whatever. And I don't know, like what that's not. If you go to an Italian restaurant and get it, it is lights out. It is amazing.
Yeah.
And then when she made it, I was like, she did awesome because that was really good. That totally was right in line with what those Italian restaurants are doing. So no, it was awesome. You know, and that's something you wouldn't think. And I'm kind of like I stick with like the majority of like normal vegetables, I guess you would say. I mean, I'm not a big tomato fan, but I'll eat fresh ones from my garden. But I tried eggplant, you know, and I'm like, wow, this is so good. I've had artichoke before too, like on pizza, which is actually really good too. So, you know, sometimes I'll try to get out of my comfort zone and be like, hey, let's try something because you never know, it could be really good. Just like the kohlrabi last night, tried that, and yeah, it was pretty good. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
worth trying just to see. Especially, I mean, it grew very well. As much as people had, um, you know, knocked growing cabbage, I didn't really do. I didn't have to spray it. It was pretty. You know, the bugs weren't really getting it.
yeah, that thing that no, that did awesome. That did really well. Yeah, so I got a few tomatoes last night, cherry tomatoes out of my garden, and then I think I got two more cukes out of it. And then I moved, as I told you I was going to do, is I moved my two jalapeno plants up front into the sun, and they're doing better now. The second
Nice.
plant has a pepper on it now, and then I moved my other cucumber plant up front there as well to try to get more sunlight. And yeah, the rain yesterday was nice because we definitely needed it. So you'd probably be good for today at the garden anyways, but probably have to check it tomorrow morning and see because we got a decent amount of rain, but not, you know, we're pretty far behind as far as how much rain we really need, unfortunately. But one thing I noticed, and I don't know if other people probably have noticed this before me, maybe I just don't pay attention, but I was noticing on the way to your house this morning that I'm seeing leaves changing to darker colors, and I'm like, are you kidding me? It's August 19th. It's not time for leaves to be changing colors.
Oh no, that's horrible. No.
It is because it's the sign that's like this is what's to come. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh no. And it wasn't like one tree. Occasionally I see one tree and it's like, it's because that tree's dying or something. No, it's
Yeah.
a bunch of different. And as actually kind of look out the window now, you can kind of see like a little bit of discoloration in some of the leaves out there that aren't as green as they were. I was like, no, not yet. Now I love fall. Don't get me wrong. It's like it is probably my favorite season. However, it's what comes next that I dislike so much that kind of takes away from the fall. But yeah, crazy,
Well, it's
crazy.
it's been getting pretty cool at night too, so maybe that triggers some of the trees to.
Yeah, it has, and I'm sure some of it being drier this year too is, you know, I'm sure there's some factors there as well. Because you think about it, we really haven't had much rain this year at all.
No,
You
not
know,
compared to last year. I mean, I remember last year I didn't have to water the garden pretty much the whole month of July, and this year I had to water pretty much the whole month of July.
yeah, I mean, pretty much since we put the garden in, we've had to water, you know, every day. Occasionally, I'll get a day or two we don't have to, but yeah. So we'll see. You know, it's the challenge of that is if you don't get the rain now, and then if you don't have a snowy winter, then in the spring you're starting back with like a drought kind of thing. So
Right.
yeah, good times. But yeah, so I noticed one thing, just to kind of go back to your tax issue there with the town, and so we assessed at a market that was peaked out, and so I saw a story earlier, and it may be talking national, it might not be talking New Hampshire, and maybe someone could say, well, New Hampshire's market isn't doing what this one is, but basically said that the housing market's dropped 6% over the last 6 months, so it's slowing down, and it's obviously starting to come down, and we just so happen to be, fortunate enough that they do a reassessment rate when the market is peaked out, which is insane. But I saw that little story, and as I had said at the selectmen meeting, like the market's going to start to crash because that's just how it works, and so maybe that's some information Nikki can use on Monday when she talks to that company.
I'll let her know. I think she's got Al on the case helping coach her because he's dealt with this as a broker quite a bit.
Yeah, he would be perfect, actually. Too bad he wasn't. Maybe
I wish he were in town. He could just pull up the stuff. And
it's a phone call, too, so.
Oh, that's true. I should have her call in and get him on three-way.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if he pretends to be you or something, which, whatever, just because he knows the ins and outs, and I'm sure he knows it better than probably these people even do. So, as, he's done it for so long, but that would be interesting, yeah. Because, yeah, yours is totally insanely priced, like nuts. Nuts. All right, well, you guys going to be getting on the road soon, huh?
Yeah, I don't have you on speakerphone, so I don't even know what time it is, but Waze is supposed to notify me at 8:30 for departure time. So.
Well, if these numbers are right, you're like 2 minutes away from that.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, I haven't even had a chance to listen to the show. I'll probably do that when I'm on the road by myself, just because Zeta, has to listen to me enough as it is, and she's usually in the car, so I'm excited to have a few episodes I'll be able to just listen to keep me occupied while I'm driving by myself.
That will work.
See how you're doing without me. See if it can be the Tim Solo show.
It definitely can.
When I sell my house to the town for an amazing profit.
Yeah. It cannot be the Tim Solo show. It would not be good. And B, you good luck getting someone to write a check for that much money.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hey, man, he said it, not me.
I know. And now here's the time to call him out for it, because that would be fun too. So, yeah, good times.
It'd be interesting. I'd do it at a public forum too, so everybody could see it.
Absolutely. Like next
in front of all the selectmen that work for him, apparently.
Yeah.
Still agitated by that since he decides the town's direction solo.
Yeah, that was a lot of things come out at that meeting. I was kind of.
I mean, I can't. Whenever I see any of the selectmen, I'm gonna ask them about it, because that's not
right.
It's concerning to me, and not to be a jerk to, I mean, if you're given that much authority, you'll use it. Everybody will. You know what I mean? But except for George Washington.
Right.
He declined that kind of, you know what I mean? He didn't want that solo type of power, if you will. But just the audacity to say that really it's just bothering me as a citizen of the town of Newport, that he can change our affiliation from a state-run or sanctioned airport to a federal one without getting approval from the town selectmen. It's just crazy to me that, and he said you'll have to vote to stop me. Like, what?
Yeah, those are his words.
That sounds a little out of control to me. Like, whatever, you know what I mean? There's no humility in that. That's all brazen. I'm in control. I'm making the financial decisions around here. You've empowered me to do that, which, like I said yesterday, maybe so, but maybe not in this manner.
Right, and
then they all voted to give him that power because of going from 5 to 10% is the way that I understood it from when I was watching. Which I get the whole 200,000, whatever. You know what I mean? I get all the nuances of it.
Right. Yeah.
You had experts. You had the experts who've been doing it on a mostly volunteer basis that have been organizing all this.
Right.
Saying it's not worth the hassle, and then he.
Right. And they said that
did the same thing he was accusing them of. Well, I talked to somebody, and it's not that big a deal. You just got to fill out your paperwork properly. Okay, well, why deal with that hassle? I mean, the paperwork should be filled out properly every time.
Right, and
You know what I mean? So,
and the big project they have down there that it sounds like they need very much in the next couple of years is to pave the whole place. And as one of the, and I wish I could remember his name, but one of the co-managers of the airport said, yeah, but if you pave it, now you're into the FAA for 20 years. So for them to say, oh yeah, we could just, do a few things, jump out if we want, like, I don't,
right. Yeah, it never works that easy.
no,
Even if somebody at the FAA tells you that, they're just trying to lull you into their, that's a notch on someone's belt to say, hey, we picked up another airport.
right.
Now we have this at our fingertips. We can do this. Whatever authority the FAA gets out of having that now is
Right, and
totally.
only half of the airports in New Hampshire are, in this NIPI program or whatever. So, what's the other half see that this half doesn't, or why is that? Why haven't they decided to get in? Or, and you know how that works. Things constantly change. Like, yeah, we don't have to put a fence around it. They already said that, and they prefer not to. But then you don't know. A year from now, someone gets in there that takes control and then says, "Well, no, all our airports have to have fences." You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to misunderstand me. Like Hunter has done great things of getting us finding money in places. Like I've always said, he's a calculator. It's a math problem to him. That he's emotionless about it in the sense of he doesn't really care as long as the math is in his favor. That's why my suggestion, if anybody ever listened to me, would be for the selectmen to actually call selectmen from these other cities who have recently made the switch and just get their honest take on it and then have that frank discussion instead of Hunter doing the same thing that he was accusing the managers of because he talked to somebody and he understands bureaucracy and everything else, which I respect that. However, the selectmen have a duty to the town. Garbage truck rolling by.
yeah,
The selectmen have a duty to the town to do their due diligence and them to make some phone calls, and maybe they will. But they already gave him the authority, so I guess it doesn't matter. But after hearing from the managers, the way that I operated when I had some type of authority and responsibility for things was to try to do as much research and make sure that I wasn't going into something, you know what I mean, that I had all bases covered, because there's always best case and worst case scenarios, and somewhere in between is what really happens. So
right, and and I get it. So, okay, on the flip side is maybe because this has been a challenge for a few years, and Hunter's like, listen, this is the only option. And because he's been in it so much more, maybe it is. And he's right. I can't imagine that, he comes to the taxpayers and say, here's the deal. We have to spend $2 million at the airport on a bond to pave it, or we're going to close the airport. And I can tell you right now, like he said it, everyone knows. They're going to be like, okay, then close the airport, because no way are we going to, raise our taxes or whatever. So I get that. So maybe in his eyes, like, this is the only way. But at the same time,
right, it's a math problem. It's just a simple solution to a math problem, which is how he addressed it, like asking the school to pay for 75% of the guy's benefits. And it's like, this is all town money, and he's not working for us 75% of the time. So everything makes sense. You're just trying to get a good deal.
Yes, exactly.
You're trying to, because it's a math problem for him. He's like, if I can get them to pay, then that gives me, however many thousands of dollars to redirect somewhere else for something else.
Yeah. Well, I 91A requested the budget for the police department a couple days ago, and Paul had got back to me when he got right back to me. He sent me something. I was like, well, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I want to know what was spent last year and what was left over.
What was authorized, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so
what they were allotted for, and
yes, exactly. And I said, and where that money goes, but it just goes back in the general fund. So he's like, I got a couple more weeks before, because the end of July closes out that fiscal year. So he's still doing the paperwork, the stuff he's got to do. And so I said, okay, no problem. So I assume in the next, couple weeks I'll get that. But the only other question I have is, and I think it's awesome, the fact that Hunter's got us $21 million in money, grants or whatever.
Yeah. That's my point. I'm not necessarily bashing Hunter. I'm bashing the selectmen for not, saying, hey, good job, Hunter. I like your solution, but let's double check now that the 2 or 3 of the people from the airport were like, hey, it's not as rosy as it appears, and
Right.
and then he kind of, Hunter kind of mocked the car show and the fireworks and everything else, but like that goes back to what we always talk about, is that's what makes Newport Newport. Like, don't take away the small town feel, because then we're all just drones. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just
Yeah, and the other question I have that I really would like to ask, and I don't want to ask it to be like just because it could come off the wrong way, but as you've gotten us $21 million in grants, where did the 21 million go, or have we where's it going?
right.
Because if we've dropped 21 million into the town in the last 12 months,
I,
I should
I,
see some
yeah.
serious
There should be like some awesome roads or high-speed internet, or like
something.
some of the towns in Texas use their COVID money to put high-speed internet up in case a real pandemic comes along and you do have to shut things down, that people are connected.
Right. I know like we did some stuff at the Opera House, so I'm sure that's some money, but that's not a huge amount. I know he got windows for or he's trying to get windows for the town office, which I talked to him a while ago when I had a conversation with him, and some of the issue was like they earmark this money and then you have to wait for it, and there's there's all these other little things you have to deal with, of course, because it's bureaucrats, right? But
Right.
I'm just curious, like where. Yeah, and I think that's a good question to ask. Okay, we heard you've gotten us 21 million in grants. That is awesome. I mean, that is absolutely
Yeah,
awesome.
put an info. They could do that in a PowerPoint, one slide probably, with
Right.
whatever it is and how much money he got, so that we all can see it. And then, that'll give him some credibility. But like you said, if you keep telling us you're spending all this money, but yet the road in downtown is still horrible, which I get, that's state, but you know what I mean? You don't see any marked improvements.
Right. Right.
And you're holding the school hostage for more money that, mathematically doesn't even make sense. It's just a bargaining chip that you're using. You know what I mean? Like, where are you spending this money?
Yeah, if you're getting 21 million in grants, then why are you trying to, hold the school
And I'm
hostage
sure
for
if we
more
went to
money?
every town, selectman meeting, maybe we'd have had more knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, just, okay, he got this. Like, you
Right.
kind of are naming some things off that you know about.
Right.
But it would be and it's a great PR move on
Oh, absolutely.
the
Yeah.
selectman's part, because it makes them look good. It makes Hunter look good. If
Right.
to more than just saying it, but showing us and say when we can expect to see it, because he might got 21 million and some of it doesn't really kick in for 2 or 3 more years, or
Yeah.
like with the
right.
the community center, the budget has to be approved, that our
Yeah.
senator
Right.
allegedly had
Yeah. So if we
earmarked,
get
put some pork on some bill for us.
right. So I mean, the next, so in October when they vote on the budget, and then depending what happens, of course. So the next budget that passes, Newport has 4 point something million allotted to them that we will get, so that we'll get a community center at no cost to the taxpayers. So with the donations that he's been working on getting, and then this, we'll get a community center, and it's costs nothing.
Yeah, it would be nice to know, because then
'Cause
guys
that's
like
awesome.
me and you and other interested people can also look up the programs and find out what kind of quid pro quo comes with it, because there's always, you don't get it, like I think you said it in the meeting tonight, nothing's really for free.
I know, that was the whole thing with FAA. I'm like, okay, well, where's the catch? Because no one just stands up and says,
Yeah.
hey, I want to give you money. Okay.
Right.
What do you want in return? Oh, well, in return, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't usually
Right,
work that way.
but if we have that, number one, it shows us how much we're allegedly going to get.
Right.
Then we can look up the programs, and then we as towns citizens can make informed decisions and say, hey, you know what? Is this really a good idea? And maybe
Well,
if we disagree, we get voted down or whatever, but at least the discussion is had.
Well, here's the funny thing with it, and Bert was caught off guard, is so it doesn't have to go to the vote of the town. So if it happens like it should go, if it passes and all that, they'll just start construction. So it doesn't actually have to be approved by the town, which Bert thought was very interesting. On this, I'm kind of like, oh, maybe it's better just because then it will happen. But at the same time, if it was something I was totally against and doesn't have to be voted on by the town, I find that interesting, don't you? Like, we don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, what are they adding on? What are their expectations? Just like with the FAA, like, you're going to build us this community center, and there's no requirements for us to host some type of,
Right.
federal funded whatever program.
Right.
3 nights a week or whatever. And it's like, well, why are we doing that? Because what if it goes against our town's values?
Right. And I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the way they give money away, that I mean, nowadays, especially, it's like it's Christmas, right? So
Yeah.
maybe maybe there's not any sort of crazy stipulations like that in there, but yeah, it was.
Yeah, and there may not be, but it's worth at least talking and looking at.
Yeah, and I still like, if this happens, that's great, but I'm still not going to vote for Shaheen because it's the same old, like,
Right. This is just pork added on, and it's taking.
It's just we're getting a benefit from it. For once, we're actually going to get a benefit out of it. Where
Right. That doesn't necessarily make it right, or we don't agree with it. Like, oh, finally we're getting our turn. Now I like pork.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But like I said, hopefully it will happen, and because I think that's probably the only way it's going to happen in town. And
yeah, well, we were for the community center.
We were very much.
So and they did talk about this a little bit. To be fair, they did actually. I don't know if it was one of you guys that were in the audience that brought it up, or maybe one of the selectmen, or maybe even Hunter himself, because I remember there was a discussion. We're like, well, what do they get in return for it? Are they in charge? Is it still our plans? They did have a little bit of a conversation about it. So that's.
Yeah, he did.
I want to make sure I'm fair about this. This is.
Yeah. No, he
in
sent
this case, they did have some discussion about it.
Yep, there was. He sent the whole packet to them. They approved it like that. Some questions come up. Well, are you going to be able to use? So that's for the community center, but what about tearing down the old rec and building? He says that was all
the baseball fields and all that stuff.
He's like, that was all in there. So, so they know about it.
Right. I just want to make sure I'm fair. In this case, that there was some conversation. Some of these questions were asked, so it's not like they don't do this kind of stuff. It's just the more eyes you have on something, looking into things, the more you have, and the better the conversations can be.
And I remember having a conversation with Jeff Kessler back right around the time of voting. I think it was at the deliberate session. He's like, yeah, and we might actually be able to get this for nothing or whatever, because at that point Hunter is still working on this grant thing that was through Shaheen's office or whatever, but obviously
I've heard about that before the vote as well.
But of course there's you can't.
Right, they didn't advertise it and say that.
Right, because
they didn't use that to try to sway voters or anything. It was just done.
And how that works.
That's good stewardship of the funds.
Exactly, because how that works. Yeah, it looks good, and then the next thing it disappears. And because that was my concern, is like, how likely is this to happen? And it sounded like it's likely to happen if they pass the budget, and because eventually they'll have to pass the budget, I guess. So.
Maybe.
Yeah. Right. I know. You never know down there. You just don't know. So I'll cross my fingers, hope, see what happens. But who knows? The federal government's such a,
Yeah, it's a show right now.
It is a show. So. All right. I will.
All right. Well, I'm going to get on the road here. We're a few minutes behind now.
All right. I will.
That's all right, though. I build in these kind of buffers because I'm never in a rush.
Yeah,
My theme song would be, even though it's kind of the opposite. I'm in a hurry and don't know why. But was it Alabama?
Right. You're not.
Or I'm in a rush and don't know why. Yeah, I'm not in a hurry.
Right.
I'm not in a hurry for anything anymore. I hurried for 25 years, and now I'm just coasting through, doing things at my own pace. Other than when I have obligations. But you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. So to have Zeta send me some pictures so I can put them on the show today, and we will.
All right. And again, I highly recommend Mount Rushmore if anybody's making their way out here or looking to plan a family vacation. And I've been staying in hotels, motels for less than $100 a night, through Expedia or AAA. So
nice.
But you know what I mean? And I've been filling up the gas tank every time it gets to halfway down so that it doesn't feel like I'm getting robbed. And the gas is like $3.50 to $3.70 along the trip. So it's not as high as it was when I left New Hampshire.
That's good.
But anyway, I fill them up when I get down to half a tank, so I feel like I'm spending less on gas.
Sad we have to do that, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well,
All right.
Be safe, and we'll talk to you on Monday. I mean, I'll talk to you obviously sooner than that, but we'll talk to you on the show again on Monday.
All right. Appreciate you looking after the garden for me.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you.
All right. Bye.
Steve Morris, he's out there in South Dakota right now, heading to Montana. Should be there today. And, Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Mount Rushmore is quite the thing to behold. I've always wanted to go check it out. So at some point, I hope to get out there and see it because it's just really awesome. The fact that it was carved out of a mountain, and it's got the four, I think, most influential presidents on the face of the mountain, and then he's gonna go see Crazy Horse today, which is a Native American. I believe it's an Indian on a horse in the mountain type thing too, similar to that. And yeah, sounds like a good time. So back to our local things. So next, alrighty, yeah, next Saturday, so the 27th from 9 to 3, the Apple Pie Festival is going to be going on, which is always a huge thing in Newport. They have pie, which is that's a favorite right there of mine, of course. And then they have a big book fair going on, or a book sale going on from the library. And then the SAU building, we're going to have some tents up out there, and we're going to give away backpacks, school supplies, and books from kindergarten up to 12th graders. So if you're a parent out there and you're like, man, I'm going to buy a backpack this year or school supplies, swing by here on the 27th. Right, it's going to be right on. So the Apple Pie Festival is going to be going right on the Common, and right at the end of the Common there is where the SAU is at the toll building. We're going to have some tents up there too, backpacks. I don't know what they have for school supplies, but I was told school supplies, so there's some stuff there. So swing in, check out what they got. Take advantage of this. I'd hate to see at the end of the day that there still a bunch of backpacks left. 250 is quite a few of them. So, it won't cover obviously all the kids who go to school, but I'd like to see all those definitely disappear and, take advantage of it. I mean, your light bills through everything is through the roof. So even if you're someone that makes good money nowadays, it's like, it's crazy. It used to be $15 minimum wage is what everyone wants. And I was like, well, that's a lot of money. $15 minimum wage now is a setback. Like it's just crazy. So the rec center is also looking for help for their after school program. So if that's something you're interested in, basically you're going to be watching kids, not watching I guess, but supervising kids grades 6 through 12 and basically play games and be a good role models to our youth. And it's a Monday through Friday thing from 2 to 5, so 3 hours a day. If it's something you're interested in, swing into the rec center, put your name in. I'm sure they have an application or whatever you have to fill out. So, or if you know someone that's interested, it's a good little gig. And I mean, I can think of a lot worse things having to do for 3 hours and play games with kids and get paid for it. That's pretty cool. So, so if that's something you're interested in, check that out. I have to find my screen. It disappeared. Sorry. Today, farmers market 3 to 6. Definitely now's the time of year for sure to check it out. Go down there because now they have a lot of produce, corn, everything out there pretty much that we get that I haven't personally got out of my garden yet. But they have cucumbers, they have tomatoes, they have tons of stuff. I know Beaver Pond Farms there. I know it's every Friday there's a bunch of people there. I've seen music on the gazebo, so it's a pretty cool thing, and every town kind of does this now, but we've been doing this for a long time in Newport, so check that out, and I'm guaranteeing you that the produce is cheaper there than if you go to Shaw's or some other store, and this is actual fresh from a garden, didn't migrate up here from another state or anything like that. This is non-chemical based food, so some good stuff. Check that out. And the last concert on the Common is Sunday 6 to 8, JJ's Music. The church will be doing hot dogs and hamburgers and fried dough and stuff like they always do. Sometimes you'll see the Good Humor guy out there selling ice cream. So like I said, this is the last one of the summer. So crazy how fast it goes. Like I said, I see leaves starting to change color. So crazy. Just summer seems to always go fast, and then the winter seems to always take a long time for us to get through it up here in New England. Meme of the day. Let's see. I have two of them. Let's go with this one first because this one's so true. So, see anything? Nope, not yet. And you have the FBI with Hunter Biden stand there next to the FBI agent like, hey, what's going on? And obviously you have all these pictures from his laptop or whatever all over the thing, It's sad. It really is sad that this is like the world we live in now, where the president of the United States' son is like, on drugs, tied up with all these foreign countries, allegedly, we'll say. It's nuts. And so other meme, a government that forces you to account to them for the way you spend your money, but refuses to be accountable to you for how they spend your money, should be immediately replaced. And that's so true. And this is why, as far as I'm concerned, they should abolish the IRS, but they should abolish the FBI and the DOJ too, because they're a politically motivated joke at this point. But there's this video going around. It's almost like satire, but I don't think it's not. That's the sad part of IRS agents learning to use guns, because these new 87,000 that they're going to hire, part of this job description that the IRS then took down basically is you have to be willing to work 50 hours a week, it could be nights, weekends. You have to be willing to use deadly force if necessary, and all this. Like, these are IRS agents. These are tax people. These aren't, FBI agents with criminals or whatever, or this isn't the police department doing drug stuff. Like, no, this is literally the people that audit you, whatever, and they need to know how to use deadly force and all this stuff. That's pretty messed up. So you can really start to wonder, now, is your government out for your benefit, or are they out for their own benefit? I don't know. That question's kind of coming clear more and more every day, of course. But no, it's crazy. Remember this in November. Please remember this in November. If you love the direction the country's going right now, continue to vote for the Democrats. And if you are sick of the way the country's going, then at least on a national level, you need to vote for Republicans, as much as I don't want to vote for any of these Republicans, unless they're new to the cause, So we have 2 Democrats in New Hampshire right now. So if you vote for a Republican, Don Bulldog's running. He's like one of the front runners in this election or whatever. So I'm going to put my vote on him. Why? Because he's never been to Washington before. Is everything he says going to be what I want as a citizen privately? No, of course not, because that's just not possible, right? We all have different opinions. So that's why this whole 2-party system is so screwed up, because I don't fit into any of these parties. Like, some of the things some of these Democrats do, I'm like, yeah, I like that. Some of the things these Republicans do. But then there's a lot of things that neither one of them do. I'm like, why aren't you doing this? This is what you should be doing for the people. Our government's very much forgotten that they work for us. It's we the people. It's our money that they just spend and spend and spend. We have to pay for this, and our children have to pay for this, and their children have to pay for this, because they just spend so much money and they don't care. There's no accountability. It's just like, whatever. What are you going to do? Can vote us out of office? In a lot of cases, yeah, a lot of them have been voted out, need to be voted out, but it's crazy. I just don't even understand how this got to this point so rapidly, especially like things have always been like, and now all of a sudden it seems like in the last 2 years anyways, like we're just going to do whatever we want. There's nothing you can do to stop us, which it's not true, I guess, but crazy. So I just saw this too. Updated COVID boosters for teens and adults coming in a few short weeks. So be prepared for the new booster that's going to be more beneficial to the variant that's going around now. The variant going around now that's much less deadly, more contagious, but the symptoms often are like cold symptoms. So if you want to put more chemicals in your body that aren't tested and they have no clue what will do to you, a couple of weeks, I guess you'll have that opportunity. But I just don't know how at this point, after all the stuff we know for the last 2 years, the things that have come out, the CDC now saying that they totally dropped the ball and didn't do what they should have done or how they should have done it in the eyes of the public. All these things come out, all these mysterious people dying of mysterious things that never, like, teenagers don't have heart attacks. It's extremely rare. But now it's like, it's normal, right? So if you're interested in put some more experimental drugs in your body, the COVID booster will be coming out soon. So a new poll, majority of American voters now think that the FBI has become Biden's Gestapo. Man, is that true or what? I like to call the FBI the American KGB, which basically worked for the Russian party that was in charge. So now it's, there's a poll coming out that majority of Americans believe that this is just Biden's Gestapo. This is Biden's group of people.
Steve Morris?
Steve, you're back.
Yeah, I didn't mean to call you.
Oh, well.
I'm plugging the phone into the car.
All right. Well, nice to talk to you for a minute. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye. Steve in technology, not quite as technological advanced. Zeta probably should have connected a phone for him, but no, I'm just kidding, of course. Yeah, so it's, you see it more and more, and now there's a story coming out that they're going to unseal the affidavit for the search on Mar-a-Lago. Trump obviously said, yeah, I want it released, and I thought originally Garland said he wanted just, yeah, go ahead. But now they're like, no, it's very important not to release it. So the judges said, well, no, we're going to release it, but we want you to take it and you can redact things in it. But if you redact too much, I'm going to redact it myself. So now they have a week to redact what they want to take out of this. I can't see how possibly that if they redact the search warrant, it could hurt any investigation or anything. My guess is they are just trying to cover their ass now because they've messed up and it's maybe become so much more public than they thought it would be, which I don't know how they couldn't have thought. Plus, they've also said that, and I don't know why Trump doesn't do this yet, but talked about releasing all the footage from the surveillance cameras or when the FBI was going through it. That would have been the first thing I would have done the first day is release it. I don't know what. He said something about, when the time is right, but that's the first thing I would have done is, here you go. Throw this up on wherever. Of course, YouTube probably would ban it, so you'd have to put it on something else, I guess. But release it all, the 10 hours of FBI agents, rummaging through your stuff and doing God knows what they did. But very interesting to see what will happen. Maybe next week, the end of next week, we'll know when they release this thing, what's been redacted. Normally you redact classified stuff, right? Like, a lot of government documents have read, black lines through things so you can't read them. This doesn't seem like one of those things. I mean, if this is just a crime, you're going after someone for doing something wrong, then I don't see what the issue is. Then you should stand up there and, yes, we're going after Trump because he did this and this is illegal and you need to secretly go after it. And you're going to tell me it's going to affect the investigation? Like, that's just a load of crap. So, speaking of the DOJ, the DOJ is being hammered over their double standard of threats of hospitals performing transgender operations and threats to the pro-life center. So basically, if there's hospitals out there that are like, yeah, we're not doing any transgender operations, the DOJ is threatening them, saying like, you have to, provide this service or whatever. And then if there's a pro-life center out there, they're threatening them that basically that they shouldn't exist, I guess, because everybody should be allowed to have abortion, which, once again, I don't give a crap if you have an abortion or not, because it's not my body, it's not my choice, it's nothing to do with me, but don't force your nonsense on me. I'm not putting any chemicals in my body that I don't choose to put into my body. So it's a double standard. So if you are saying it's my body, my choice, then it has to be my body, my choice, 100%. And let's keep in mind right now that the Democrats run the Senate, they run the House, and they have the presidency. So they have all three branches of the government. They could pass bills of whatever, and the Republicans really can't do much to stop them. So why don't they pass a law on abortion? They could do that right now. They could pass a law saying that abortion is legal in all 50 states, whatever the terms of that would be, whatever. They could do that. They could 100% do that, but they won't. Instead, they'll wait until a bunch of them get voted out. Potentially the House would be Republican controlled, Senate would be Republican controlled, and then they'll bitch and complain about it for the next 2 years why Republicans aren't doing something to, protect women's rights. Yet, right now they could do that, but they won't because they do nothing. It's just, how can we keep it all going in this country? How can we keep people against each other? How can we keep all this distraction going, it's just a distraction. If you paid attention to what was going on, you would really see, like, wait a minute, they're just trying to put us against each other. Whether it's blacks versus whites versus gays versus straight people, it's just constantly something they're trying to put us against each other. When in reality, we all get along at least 90% of the time. I would say we agree on things. That none of us have issues with each other, but as long as we keep focusing on issues with supposedly with each other, we won't be paying attention to the government who's just spending your money however they want, becoming wealthy so that when they leave, their family's set up for the rest of their generations. Yet we suffer out here and you have to work, 50, 60 hours a week so you can pay your light bills, your gas bills, your food bills, and all that as they sit back on Easy Street off of us, the taxpayers' money, and they'll get to coast the rest of their life. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? Like, they can do insider trading. And some Democrats come out saying, well, hey, we want to make a bill that introduced that. And of course, Pelosi wouldn't be happy about that because her husband uses insider trading all the time. Thus the Taiwan little trip and why her son was there, because they invested in semiconductors just before the bill passed for a bailout of this industry. So, interesting. This is kind of funny, too. I won't say powerful, but the headline says that powerful Democrat rep Jerry Nadler accused of ethics violations by a watchdog group. The funny thing is, if you don't know Jerry Nadler, you would recognize him in a second because he's the one that wears his pants up to, like, here, just below breast level, I guess you would say. He looks kind of like the Penguin from, like, Batman movies. But a watchdog group has accused the House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler, of a Democrat from New York, of breaching ethics rules by receiving legal services from a senior member of his staff. According to Americans for Public Trust, an anti-corruption oversight group says that Nadler received legal services from his district director, Robert Gotham, in violation of House ethics rules. And so we'll see. So between 19 and 21, this guy had paid $81,345 to Nadler's campaign for legal services and strategy services, or legal and strategy services, and which would violate the ethics rules. Which now, Democrat violating rules probably won't make any difference whatsoever because that doesn't seem to ever be the case. There's a list of, if it's a red, if it's someone with an R next to the name or a red state or whatever, the FBI and stuff goes after them. But if it's someone with blue and it's a D next to their name, the FBI will just look the other way. Like, Hillary Clinton's emails and Russiagate, that whole thing was all fabricated by Clinton. They completely proved it, that she hired foreign operatives to fabricate the whole thing. She should be in jail, but no. Nothing to see here, folks. So I doubt anything will happen to Penguin Boy here. So, all right, now it's back to our game of who do you trust more. So I had someone message yesterday that's like, I don't trust anybody but my daughter. Which, all right, I can get behind that. Yep, I can totally see that. And someone else said that I would definitely not trust Casey Anthony with my children, and actually she had a family member, a friend or whatever that was an FBI agent back in the day, and she's like, obviously I trust this person with my life, which I understand. As we said before, not all FBI agents are bad, but there's certainly some ones up in at least powerful positions that are very corrupt. But so on today's edition, who do you trust more, the FBI or a cocktail from Bill Cosby? That's pretty funny. I guess me as a male, I'd probably be a little like, yeah, whatever, because allegedly he sexually assaulted women. But, yeah, anyways. So, yeah, you can write in if you want or whatever. Tim and Steve Show, nh@gmail.com. I'd love to get more people involved with this and see what they think. And then I'll try to find some more for next week, too, because there's a bunch of them out there that are just kind of funny. And obviously, we just kind of joke around with it. I mean, obviously, I don't trust the FBI because they've proven time and time again that they are not trustworthy. Now, if they all suddenly went in and arrested Hunter Biden and Hillary Clinton and all these people and they started to make all these arrests, all right, Epstein's client list, I start to gain some trust back from the people of the country. But as a poll just said, majority of American voters think that the FBI is Biden's Gestapo, thus politically motivated and not doing their legal bound jobs. I don't see that going to happen. So, all right, this last little story of the day is insane. So basically, an invasion. More illegal aliens have come over the southern border in 2022 than ever before in recorded U.S. history. So U.S. Customs and Border Patrol announced this week that the number of illegal aliens entering the U.S.-Mexican border in 2022 will not only overshadow last year's record-breaking number totals, but constitutes the highest number on record ever. So there were 458,000 land border encounters in 21, and that was in 2000. In 2021, that number skyrocketed. And think about in 2021, who took over office, it skyrocketed to 1.7 million. And already this year, totals are reportedly at 1.9 million. And that is just, and this is August, and this report probably come out, it was probably as like then July or something. So we're going to blow through that super quick. You're like time this year is done, plus from 2000 to now, that's more than 5 million illegals coming across this country. 5 million. That's almost 5 times the amount of people living in the state of New Hampshire have come across. I think we have like 1.3 million now, but so call it 4 times the amount of people living in New Hampshire have come across the border in the last 3 years. Not even 3 years. So 2020, 2021, and then a little over halfway through 2022. So it's crazy. They don't care. They don't care. So I have this video, and I want you to watch this it's a really quick little clip. But basically, it's a Border Patrol agent opening a gate and just letting illegals come in, and then closing the gate after. So watch this video. It's crazy that the video literally shows the Border Patrol agent like unlocking a gate, letting in, I don't know, 30 people. They sure don't look like poor refugees. I mean, they all have good clothes. It's nuts. And they said at this point they have the ones they've stopped. This is the ones they've stopped and not missed, because when this amount of people are coming across the border, there's no way you're going to get them all. But they've already gotten 66 people that are on a terror watch list. So 66 people crossing into the United States that were captured that are on a terror watch list, that these people would be on a terror watch list, at least previously. They would obviously had means and stuff to do harmful things to the United States, So we're letting terrorists just walk across our border. And so if we've gotten 66 of them, can you imagine how many have gotten through unchecked and just walked in? And then this little quote from the president. President Joe Biden's administration is readying about $800 million of additional military aid to Ukraine, and could announce as soon as Friday. So I guess this would be today. 3 sources familiar with this matter said on Thursday. So yesterday. So as of today, there potentially is readying $800 million more. So almost $1 billion more. There was a CBS documentary, that came out saying that only 30% of the weapons or whatever that were supposed to get to Ukraine has gotten there. So it makes you wonder where the other 70% went or whatever. And now we're gearing up to spend more money, which I don't understand how we can just keep spending money that we don't have. So once again, can you imagine what $800 million could do to your state that you live in, or your town or whatever? Like, they don't care. They just keep spending money and spending money and spending money. We will never get out of debt in this country. We constantly are writing check after check after check. And you want to know why inflation is so high? Well, here's a perfect example right here. They just keep spending money. They just passed a $763 billion Inflation Reduction Act bill yesterday. And people are saying, like, it's not going to reduce, it's not going to do it. There's no way. You can't spend money to get out of inflation or out of debt. It just doesn't happen. And it's nuts. Like, if the goal is to try to destroy the country, then Biden is the best president ever. But I feel like someone that lives in the country and loves this country, that everything he's doing is destroying the country, and that's not a good thing. We live here, and there's, as we've said before, there's no one coming to help us. There's no help for us out there. There's no country out there going to say, hey, I think we should send some military or some aid to the United States because their residents, can barely afford food, the light bills, the gas bills, the heating bills. It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen. We send money everywhere. Money doesn't come back to us. And when I say we spend money or send money everywhere, they rob us blind of our money. They try to keep you living in poverty, and then they take your money, the government, and then they send it wherever they want. And as they send it back, it also filters back to them in their foundations and charities and whatever, like the Clinton Foundation, and all the trouble that happened over Haiti when all this millions went there but didn't go there. But once again, if you're a Clinton, you're above the law. Once again, I don't feel suicidal, and I don't really have any real information on the Clintons. Make sure we put that out there. It's unbelievable. Like, at what point do people in the country say, no, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. You're not going to keep spending our money that we don't even have and send it to everybody but us. This is American last politics. The last president, at least, was America first, but they all hated him. You wonder why did they hate him? Sure, he was an asshole, but it was a lot more to that situation than just, well, we don't like the way he talks. Let's think about it. You don't like the way someone talks. Well, I can guarantee you meet half the people in Washington, even the ones you think you like, you probably wouldn't like them because they're probably not likable people, just because that's who they are. So people out there, I hate Trump, I hate Trump, I hate Trump. Well, at least that man was putting the country first. It was America first. And now we have a president, and we have a whole administration of Democrats in the House, the Senate, and the presidency, that it's America last. Everything they do is America last. It is every day you see it. They spend money, spend money, spend money. We don't have. When does it come to you? When does it help you? No, it doesn't ever help you. Now, if you can afford a $300,000 electric car, maybe you'll get a $7,500, tax credit. Woohoo, good for you. What don't you understand about the light bill doubled in New Hampshire? 112% actually. So you want me to plug my car in to go to work, so my light bill, which is $300 a month, now is $600 a month. What's it going to be when I plug a car in? $5,000 a month? But the reality is, none of these people down there in Washington have to pay for anything. It's all given to them through us, the taxpayers, or their donors. They don't worry about gas prices. They don't worry about light bills. They don't worry about any of that, because to them, that's a little person problem. That's my problem, your problem, everyone else in this country's problem, except for them, the ruling class elites. They don't care about you. If you really think they care about you, then I don't know where you live mentally in your head, because, okay, Shaheen's office might have got $4 million, so Newport gets a rec center or community center. That's awesome. But you know what? Gene Shaheen doesn't give a crap about Newport. It's just, this is something where we're going to give back, right? She doesn't go to bed every night saying, I wonder what I can do for Newport to help Newport. I wonder what I can do for my people. No, she sits back and says, I can't go to Ruger's because my base wouldn't like that. So she already took out half the country right there. And no, that's not. You work for the people. The people. We the people. It's our money. but they just continue. Checks and balances. This country was founded on that. Checks and balances. There's no checks and balances anymore. They do whatever they want, and then they own the media to push any story they want to push onto you. And the DOJ and the FBI obviously are owned by the political party in charge right now. No checks and balances. Checks and balances of me and you get in trouble, of course, because we can't afford $1 million lawyers to, get out of trouble. It's pretty sad. It's really sad. It really is. We've come this far since the 40s, World War II, and the men and women that died fighting for your rights, for freedom, to stop the Nazis and to stop the Japanese from conquering the world. That was less than 100 years ago. 9/11 was 21 years ago, and we said we would never forget. We will never forget those buildings falling, those people lost their lives, and the whole symbolism of that happening, where terrorists attacked the trade centers. We said we'd never forget that we were Americans. We, despite all our differences that we have, we are one country, one America. We said we'd never forget. 21 years ago. That's it. 21 years ago. Yet, I think after a couple of years we forgot. And now, if you want to look at it 21 years later, or almost 21 years later, I think we've forgotten pretty. It's insane, insane. How could you go from everyone have American flags in their cars, so we love our country, to we got to stand together, to a short amount of time? Now it's like, whatever. Let's destroy our cities. Let's let the border be wide open and let just an invasion of people come in. No big deal, right? Just let it happen. How did we get here? How did we forget as Americans what the country stood for, what it stands for, and how did we just let this all happen? Now you have people arguing over pronouns and giving sex changes to 5-year-olds. How did you get from 9/11 to this? How did that happen? Because people out there, like me, like you that watch the show, are just being, and I don't now, I obviously I do this show, I put myself out there. I don't care. I got nothing to lose. I will say what I feel, and if that upsets somebody, I really don't care. Don't watch my show. I don't care. I really don't care. I don't care about your feelings. Now, if I'm wrong about something, you want to have a conversation about it and say, hey, you're really wrong about this. Cool, let's have a conversation, because you may change my mind on something. I've had my mind changed many times on things, but people have been quiet for way too long, and this is where we have ended up. And then when people try to speak out, especially during the COVID thing and school boards, school board member or school board people go to school board meetings, and people like me, Steve, domestic terrorists, because we're objecting to the way these people were trying to tell our children how they're going to live their lives, or doctors and nurses and people that support staff to those people losing their jobs because they won't get a shot in their arm in the United States of America, where you are free, a free country, yet you lost your job. And then at the same breath, it's like, oh, we're short-staffed now, and you should expect that if you go to the hospital, it'll be hours waiting, like Canada with their socialized medicine. How do we get here? How did it just, besides the fact, the only thing I can think of is because too many people out there don't stand up and say enough's enough. They just run over you, right? And then they threaten you with, we'll send the IRS after you, as they did with the Tea Party under Obama, proven thing that happened. We'll send the FBI after you, as they've come after Trump, and we'll see. Maybe they'll find something, but I highly doubt a man that's been attacked for 6 straight years, before that actually, because before he even was elected, they were after him. So for 7 or 8 years, they've been after this man, and they've never found anything. Nothing has stuck to him ever. So if you really think all of a sudden he's some Russian spy and it's all going to go down, and you really still want to believe the Russian thing, that Clinton literally has been proven that she made the whole thing up. What is wrong with you? Like, I know you hate Trump. Okay, cool. But take him and look at what's happened to him and put someone else in that position. Someone you do like, put them in a position and then say, do you still think this is right? Look back objectively and say, okay, this is what this man's gone through. Why? Why is the government this, like, obsessed with Donald Trump? Why do they want to destroy him so bad? Because they fear him and everything he stands for. He stands for putting America first. He stands for freedom. That's what it's all about, at least for me. I don't care that he's an asshole. That's great. I don't care because he stands up there and it's America first, put me first and my family first. And if you look at the 4 years he was president, the economy soared, things were good. And then the second this clown takes over with his 81 million votes, everything has gone to shit. Everything. It is completely tanked. Yet there's still people out there that think, oh, no, it's better now than it was. No, it's only better now if you are ultra rich and, maybe you make solar panels that, we just passed a bill for to make some solar panels and some windmills and stuff. But what America are you living in? So in New Hampshire, and it may just be unique to New Hampshire, but I highly doubt it, but your light bill just doubled. Your gas prices are more than doubled from where they were. If you have a 401k, it's tanked. If you have any investments, they've tanked. Your taxes keep going up, as Newport's just are going to go up some. Some went down, of course, but majority went up. Your heating oil this winter it's going to be a scary winter because how are elderly people on a fixed income going to afford to heat their house, eat food that's now double in cost, a lot of it? Andrea got chicken the other day, $16 this package of chicken. The chicken was horrible. It was so tough that I didn't even eat it. $16. Chicken used to be the cheapest thing to buy. You could get it 99 cents a pound. Like, it was cheap, less than 99 cents a pound. Like, not anymore. Feed your family. It's more and more and more money. So you're really sitting back. I mean, my neighbor literally has a Maggie Hassan and Annie Custer sign out there, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Apparently you live in a whole different world where you don't have to worry about anything because what have these people done for our state? Nothing. They've approved all this spending. That's what they've done, which has caused the inflation, which is their war on gas companies has caused the gas prices to go through the roof. But, yeah, crazy. All right, we'll wrap up there. I've gone on long enough. I've got a few other stories we'll talk about tomorrow. There's another young athlete that has died, but I'm waiting just for the cause of death to come out first. Make sure that it wasn't, I would assume if it was a car accident or something like that, they would immediately come out with that. So I'm just thinking it's probably another one of these mysterious, 22-year-olds die because they have heart attacks or something, probably vaccinated them. I don't know. We'll see. Positive meme of the day. Before you sleep tonight, be thankful that you made it through the day alive and be grateful that you get another chance at life tomorrow. It's so true because no matter how bad it really is out there, the fact that you get to go to bed tonight and wake up tomorrow, it could be a lot worse because, you could be dead, which is pretty sad that we have to look at it that way. Like, well, it's this or death. But try to be thankful and try to be grateful and remember your neighbors, especially this time. And as we come into fall, when we're going to start heating and, if your neighbor needs some help, maybe an elderly neighbor needs help splitting wood or something, or help your neighbors out because we're not all as divided as they try to make us seem. It's not the case. It really isn't. We're not that divided. It's just they want us to feel that way so they can continue to do the things they're doing. Because I think if us people, especially in Newport, I know because I've lived here forever, that if something happened, we'd all come together, right? Just like we all did on 9/11, we all came together as a country and we could accomplish anything. I still believe that. I believe that is so ingrained in us that that would continue to happen. But if we keep going the direction we're going, and you just keep going, and you keep just dumping illegals into the country, eventually, I don't see that. That could change where we don't get over what we used to be able to get over. Yeah. On that note, have a great day. Get out, go to the farmer's market. Olivia and Paige took the pictures today, used for the background. She's coming back from the Cape today, so there's an old fort down there. I guess it's like one of the places where the British attacked, and so there's a couple pictures from that, which is pretty cool. And then Zeta sending me some pictures of their trip when they're out at Mount Rushmore and stuff. So check that out. We'll put that right here at the end of the show. And yeah, if I don't see you around town, I will talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend. And remember, get out there and support your local businesses the best you can. And, be kind to one another. Seriously, it's tough. We talk about a lot of things that aren't great, but at the end of the day, if we would just come together as one America, we could overcome anything. So see you Monday. Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I need to turn the lights on.